obviously you're going to get angry. But the Bible is saying, in your anger, don't sin. So you can't then say, the only reason I insulted them was because, no, the Bible is saying, but well, we get it. They offended you. But don't sin. You've managed your emotions. You've managed your emotions. There are certain things that, no matter how you feel, even in the moment, you must allow them to remain as sacred as they're supposed to be. One time, a certain young man was in love with a certain girl. The Bible says he loved her so much. One day, she asked him, how can I kill you? How can I kill you, sir? And the thing that God told him never to tell anyone, he told her. Are you seeing that? Yeah. God said, this thing, don't tell anyone. You keep it to yourself. Yes, sir. He fell in love. And all of a sudden, he started spilling secrets. That ended up costing his life. The other side of things, obviously, is because she was nagging him and all that kind of stuff. But you see, if he didn't love her as much as he did, he wouldn't have bothered. Why? Because she was not the only person looking for the answer to that question. People had been bugging him about that thing for a very long time. So that wasn't new to him. It wasn't new to him that someone was insisting to find out how they can kill him. But the reason he told this particular girl was because he loved her. He ended up spilling a secret that God told him never to tell anyone. Another young man, God gave an instruction that was holding the fate of all humanity. And when the girl he loved came and suggested to him, let's disobey God together, do you know he agreed? He agreed. And I conclude that the only reason he agreed with her is because he loved her. He was in love. The first time he saw her, he became a poet he never knew he was. We've seen people. Instant poets, because they're in love. We thought Tabalanda. Ooh. Are you seeing that? Yeah. He was an instant poet. So when she came and she said, let us disobey God together, he agreed. Largely because he loved her. Not because he just had this desire to disobey God, no. But the one who brought the suggestion. That stuff needs to be managed. See, this is why the Bible also says to watch and pray. To watch and pray. You see, even when it comes to relationships, and perhaps maybe especially when it comes to relationships, you need to be even more careful there, because those emotions there, they're very fun. They can be very funny, those ones. We've seen people. They will fall in love. You can't tell them anything. They will forget everything you've ever taught them because they're in love. They will okay. See, that's why in my experience, two kinds of people you can't convince. A person who follows a papa, they are very hard to convince. They have a papa. Mind, that wasn't the one. A person who says they've heard God, that one is very difficult to convince. Then number two, the person in love. Ish. These are hard people to convince. You will tell them, but sis, isn't it that wolf that almost ate you that time? No, it's not the one, he's reformed. No, but sis, you're the one who, no, that time, the only reason I told you that was, but no, do you remember that time? He even, no, but see, the thing is, sis, you're now a lawyer. Bro, this girl, she's not the one. Look at, you when we look at your destiny and your assignment, you can't settle with a girl like this one. No, I will work on her. Sir, you work on, what do you mean? Look, to the core, she's not the kind of person you're looking for, no. Do you know, Samson almost threw a fit because he loved this girl. His parents said, no, you can't. He said, no, get me that girl before I do something silly. Can forget everything. You need to, see, this is why. That's why we put you on a ban first. That's why we put you on a ban first, so that you can learn to manage these things. By the time you're getting into a relationship, it will not be that difficult for you to divide this from that. Because whilst love is a beautiful thing, unmanaged, you will do crazy things. Why do you think people do these blood covenants and stuff? You think they're stupid? Two people can be so in love. We're going to be together forever. Okay, if you're going to be together forever, then just be together forever. Why are we cutting each other? But because they're so in love, they will cut each other and make blood covenants so that they can stay together forever. Are you seeing that? Yeah. People will love each other so much. And then they will just do all manner of things. Because they're in love. God will stand there and say, you can't do this thing. You say, we hear you. So, there's need for management. So we put on a nice band like this so that you're learning yourself. You're learning how to manage your emotions. You're learning how to look at a girl, like her, and not do anything about it. That's what the band does for you. You can look at a girl, you like her, she's your type, everything. But you don't do anything. You can have a nice, pretty girl, she likes you. It's even showing that she likes you. But because you're on a ban, yeah. We've helped many people. Many people have come and said, Pastor, me, I like this girl. As in the things she's making me feel inside. I said exactly why you're not going there. Because I have penya. No, Pastor. I said, I know, Sani. But listen to me, she's not for you. She's not yours. As a matter of fact, she's mine. So if you touch her, I will touch you. That's how now they started managing their emotions. Yeah. No, Pastor, me, but that guy, he's everything I'm looking for. I said, stop looking. You, what's going to help you is stop looking. Yeah. We need to deprive you of one sense. You're seeing too much. Are you seeing that? No, but every time I see him, see, that's why. Yeah. It helps you. Eventually, you become a properly well-rounded person. I've been upset many times. Even in my house. I don't think I've ever raised my voice. I've been upset a couple of times. But I don't think I've ever raised my voice. I can. You've heard me preach. You've heard me pray. So you know I can raise my voice. But I've never raised my voice. I've never been so upset with my wife that I tell her things that afterwards I have to come and apologize to her. Say, I'm sorry I said I was just angry. She's here, you can ask her. In all the years that we've been together, has she upset me before? Ask me. Ask me. Yeah. Because you see, loving someone is basically just giving them weapons to just be that one person that can upset you more than anybody else. Yeah. That's what love is also, on the flip side. Trust me. On the face of the earth, I don't think there are people that can upset you more than the person you're in a relationship with. They have got a special grace that you gave them because you love them. So there's a way them when they upset you, woo! As in the setting is really high. You get it because they're upset. Never mind. So you'll be like, you get what I mean? And you're feeling all these things, but you can't say them. You can't look at the person you love and say, you can't do that. You can't look at the person you love and you say, how foolish can you be? Didn't I tell you already? Because now after you've said that, she will remain marinating in that statement. I'm foolish. So he thinks I'm foolish. And women, they will sit on it for all eternity. They will sit on that one statement. They will be cooking Ishima for you like this and they will remember. You know how when you're chakula kanshima takala kosa sana fida look at that you know what. So now she remembers. Even the Ishima agrees with him. That's women for you. She will not forget it. And now, she's second guessing herself over everything because of that one statement that you made. So you need to manage. When you're upset, you keep quiet. If you feel like you are not in a state to construct sensible things out of that your mouth, keep quiet. Wait until you are okay, then you can talk. Because you will end up ruining things. Remember what we always say, feelings come and go. One moment you're upset, the next moment you're not. The things you did whilst you were upset will still be around, whilst that feeling has gone. So you were upset, you insulted someone. The anger has now finished, because after you're done now, you've insulted them. Whatever was pushing you to insult is now satisfied. It can now leave and go. But you still have to remain with that person you insulted. Now you have to come back and say, I'm sorry for saying what I said. No, that's an unnecessary conversation to have. So you feel like, just go and take a walk. Then come back. Then you can have a conversation. That way you will find, there's one problem already. Don't create another one. There's already one problem. Don't create another one. You're upset with your friend. And now your friend is thinking, so there are entire committees that have formulated opinions on me, and none of the reviews are good. And now they begin to question, so your friend is now in a world of thoughts because of one statement you made out of anger. So you manage those things. Are we together? Even when you're going to be raising your children, because children, they will test you. Trust me. They would test you. You can explain things to your child, and you think they've gotten it. And when you look at their age, they should be able to get it. And you're looking at you. So now, you can't say, man. You can't say that. Just what happened? Not so long ago, let me expose her for liking to be a pastor's child. You can imagine this girl, Bakuying, and it was this year. At her big age, she comes and says, I think I've swallowed something. You've swallowed something. What is it that you've swallowed? I don't know. What material was it? Was it plastic? Was it metal? I don't know. So you mean to tell me at your big age, you found something outside, some random object, and you thought it was a good idea to even, first of all, let's not even go to the swallowing. You thought it was a good idea for that thing to enter your mouth. See, if Micah did that, I would understand. I would question a few things, but I would somehow understand. This one, no. She couldn't even explain. But even the doctor at the hospital was also just like, but you at your age. Even he was shocked. So now, you can't then say to your child, because in the moment, that's how I was feeling. You get what I mean? She's too old to bring that kind of report. too old. And she kept it for a bit because I think she thought she could manage it. Until she, I think started. Basamsangale ikula tunkula kumkoshere for. So now we had to take a whole trip to the hospital. Can you imagine how embarrassing it was for me? It's embarrassing. I can't say this is too shameful. We want to go. Because now I don't know what she has swallowed. Could be poisonous. I have no idea. So now I have to go. Embarrassing to Africa. Ask her. When we went into the doctor's office, I just say, explain yourself. I didn't even want. Because now, because it's like, you get what I mean? We're in Africa. Everything a child does, look at the parent. So, no matter how angry and how disappointed I was, I couldn't just say anything to her. Because that moment will pass, but the things I will say to her will remain with her for a very long time. And you will find it will begin to affect her character. There are people who grew up and they kept telling them, what. There's a way they grew up. Those words remain with them. And so they never think they are special. They never think they are smart. They never think that there are some parents. And you see, you need to be careful. There are some parents, you're in school, you haven't done so well. Then they just say anything. You need to quickly forgive them, and then make sure those things don't stay with you. Make sure those things don't stay with you. Because some parents can be very careless. All of a sudden now you're now demoralized, thinking, I might as well just. But understand, sometimes you see when people are upset, they are unable to manage what comes out of their mouths. They're still working on it, maybe. I don't know. But sometimes, on your end, just so that you don't end up sitting in bitterness, just understand them. Just say, you know what, they were just upset. Some are drunk. It's no excuse. It's not, we're not justifying it, but for your sake. Are you getting me? For your sake. Because then why are you going to be walking around with the drunk man statements? So it's better you just drop the thing and you move. Hallelujah. Yeah. So emotions, they are important. They make us tick. They make us human. They help us connect. But at the same time, if we leave them unmanaged, they can destroy so many things. They can destroy relationships. They can sever ties. There are families that are divided right now because of what happened somewhere once and somebody said something and that was it. That was it. I remember one time with some of the people that I play basketball with, there was a bit of discussion that we were having. And I was really just trying to direct people to say, no, but we can do it. And somebody said, that's the problem with you. You are always thinking you're right. You're always wanting to. I said, this is what you've been keeping in your chest. But I remember afterwards, that person came to me and said, Pastor, I'm sorry. It was just the moment. Are you seeing that? There was some truth to what they said still. But they realized perhaps they could have said it better. And sometimes that's what it is. It's not like you're even lying or anything, but you could have said what you said better. You could have said it better without having to injure the other person. You could have said it better. So don't let emotions run you. You run your emotions. Emotions have to be directed. They have to be given parameters. You give them parameters. Give your emotions parameters. There's a place they should not go beyond. Some people have brought curses on themselves because they were so upset with their parent, they said something against them. I remember one time I was driving on the road, and then someone I heard did something, and I was just road rage. You know, you think you're a calm, peace-loving person until you're driving. I don't know. There's a spirit on the road. There's just a spirit on the road. I don't know. You can go from just having an amazing soaking session in the car, driving around, just, you are worthy, oh Lord, of all honor. Just having a good time. And someone does something, and suddenly, you're just, Hulk. So, I was so infuriated. I was, and I was almost hooting at the person. When I passed them, I looked who was driving and said, oh my God. I've had those moments where I was about to do something. Then I checked, can't I know the person? And it would have just been like, Eva, pastor. Are you seeing that? Sometimes you realize because of the kind of person you are, you're not necessarily allowed to be human. So for example, I can't just be in road rage on the road and I'm insulting people. And they've really offended me. And I can't get away with it. Everybody will be like, but for pastor. No, my pastor, te mundu. I remember one time in high school, I was so upset over the Babylon issue. There was a system, a joke, really, that my friends and I started. We called it Babylon, where we would temporarily deprive you of something. So maybe like you lose a book at break time, and then we give it back to you when knocking off, just for the fun of it. So this whole time you were panicking, just, they've stolen my book, they've stolen my Walkman. You know that stuff. Some people are just lost. Walkman, what's a Walkman? Don't worry. It's not a walking man, but it was a man walking. But anyways. So we used to call it Babylon. So you leave something careless, we deprive it just for a bit. Then afterwards we give it back. But there were some riffraffs who altered the system of Babylon. Them, they were not depriving temporarily. Them, they were depriving permanently. So then when they collect something of yours, they will not bring it back. So then I remember they Babyloned me. Can you imagine? President of Babylon. They Babyloned me. And a few others that day. Now, I really didn't mind. But then I just noticed it was rampant. So I just got very upset. I was there, I was talking. Bah, 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 bah. I don't think I was cussing, but like, I was just bonding, I think. But not exact cuss words or whatever, but like, I was so upset. You get what I mean? Now, this is grade 12, and I was part of the youth forum, which was like scripture union, but for SDA. I was talking. And then this one girl said, "Hey, Joe, what family work youth forum?" It's like she now just came and put salt on the wound like this. I didn't know anyway. Afterwards I sat down with myself. I said, what was that? You need to manage. You need to manage. Some people have trapped their children as a result. They were so upset. Tukamonango kachitapo into life. Because I was so upset. So, you manage. See, and especially in the season that we are in, you need to be very careful. You need to be very careful. I'll tell you something. We are into our season of prayer. Not necessarily that there's any point of the year where we don't pray, no. But like, this season is particularly themed a season of prayer. But let me give you this mystery. What a season of prayer also is a voice-activated season. Why? Because it's a season that we constantly configure things with our words. That's what we are doing. We are configuring things with our words in this season. As we pray, and this is why you need to be very serious with this thing. As you pray and as you fast, we are configuring things. We are creating things. We are breaking down what needs to be broken down. So the atmosphere itself also shifts because of the season. The atmosphere shifts. It shifts into a place where it responds to the stuff that comes out of our mouths. So now you have to be extra careful that you're not careless with your words. Otherwise, you begin to undo things. So opportunities will come. You're upset, you're too happy, or whatever, you're sad, disappointed, whatever it is that's going on. But you need to be careful what comes out of that, your mouth. Because you see, this is why when we are in a season of prayer and fasting like this, that's why we stay away from entertainment as much as we can. The things that we can avoid, we avoid them. This is not a season where you watch movies back to back. Are you hearing me? So that you can pass the time. Kylie, you're fasting, you're hungry. Let me just watch like 5 movies. By the time you're there, only 15 hours now, I did that. No. That's not what you do. You need to be focused. So that you are not drinking the wrong stuff. You need to focus. So the atmosphere in this season opens up for us where now when we speak more than any other time, our words are weightier. Doesn't matter what comes out. So you end up saying the wrong thing in this season. So you manage yourself. Are we together? You manage yourself. Something has happened, sit down, think about it, pray, then respond. Always be the kind of person that responds and not reacts. Be Be the kind of person that responds. A response is a carefully thought through. A reaction is a mixture of whatever you have and what has happened. It's a reaction. When they say, he reacted, even in your chemistry, when you talk of a reaction, there's no reaction that just happens on itself. One element was just sitting on its own like this, and then you say, there was a reaction. How is it a reaction? No, that person reacted to something. It means they came into contact with something. So that something plus them, it caused a reaction. Are you seeing that? A response, on the other hand, is a careful consideration of what has been presented. Then after that consideration, what comes out is not a result of a mixture, but it's as a result of the consideration of the person to whom the thing has been presented, in which they respond according to who they are and what they've determined for themselves. So when a person says, me, it's just up to the way you treat me. If you are good to me, I'll be good to you. If you're bad to me, I will. No, what you are is a chameleon. Because the chameleon is the one that behaves like that. You put it on a white surface, it starts mimicking that color. You put it on a brown surface, it starts becoming brown. You put it on a green surface, it starts becoming green. It just depends on where you put it. But a leopard will maintain its stripes. Whether you take it this side, it will still remain like that. You take it that side, it will still remain like that. Are you seeing that? So you can't be the kind of person who says, it just depends on how you take me. If you're good to me, I'll be good to you. If you're, no, mommy. Are you seeing that? Why are you insulting? They insulted me first. No, now we know what they want to say. Don't even say they insulted you first. Now what do one say for what about? Are we following? Cool. Now, I'm going to give you a few stories. You're going to go back home, read, study, do your research as we pray this season. Are we together? I wanted to give you this nugget because your word today is just a word to help you build your confidence further in God as you pray. Let's look at a few stories. Genesis. Genesis. Now, chapter 12. Genesis chapter number 12 introduces a man named Abraham. Now, when God appears to Abraham, I'll just be running through the details. Some of the details. You go and read. When God appears to Abraham, Abraham at the time is in his father's land. He has a few things here, there. He has a few projects running. He's living his life. And God tells him to pack up and go to a place he will show him. Now, what I'm giving you is an exhortation. We're just going to title it Against the Odds, because I want to show you something. So, picture this. here's, uh, here's a man, he's a grown man. At that point in his life, a bunch of things are already established. Are we together? A bunch of things are already established. So God appears to him and he tells him, "You're going to go to a place, I'm going to show you." Oh, okay. Sometimes as you read through these scenarios, you need to put yourself there and ask, what was it like to be Abraham in this moment and receiving this kind of word? What was it like when you look at society in itself? How would you explain this if you had to another person? Would it be something that the next person understands? You have to think of even, for example, maybe the ridicule that you have to go through as a result. See, I'll tell you something. When it comes to following God, a lot of the times, the instructions that God will give you will come with a lot of ridicule from people. Because a lot of people won't understand how God is guiding you. They won't understand the things that God said to you. Can you imagine you're just a young, pretty girl like this, and then you can't be in a relationship? And everybody's wondering, but you're so pretty. And then you can't explain because you're not supposed to be explaining, by the way. You're not supposed to be out here telling people, no, but I'm on a ban. No, don't discuss in-house things with outsiders. They will discourage you from personal instructions. So can you imagine that? You're like a nice, handsome guy, everybody's crushing on you. No, you can't be in a relationship. It's weird. Are you seeing that? It's very weird. So you will face ridicule from people. But you must understand the instruction you received from God and run with it. Because when God spoke to you, it was personal. It was personal when he spoke to you. So you can imagine, sometimes when you're looking at some of these stories, you're just thinking, oh, must be nice, God spoke to him. That's great. But then at the same time, you have to think, look, he lived with people already. So can you imagine just randomly getting up one day and saying, I'm going? Where are you going? I don't know. At your age. At your age, you must know where you're going. Also, he lived in a place where people were idol worshippers. So now you're going to say, God told me. Which one? Are you seeing that? Which one? And the same God that spoke to you, why can't he tell you where he's taking you? So now you will be questioned. Sometimes even before they even ask you any question, you yourself, you will question yourself on their behalf. You know how you're always thinking, what will people say? So you begin to question, people will ask these people. And this is where people now, especially this social media age, no one has even asked you, just people have been asking me, excuse you, no one even cares. But people just come up online and they're just like, a lot of people, they even put at a lot. A lot of people have just been asking me, no one, zero. The number of people that have asked you about your skincare routine, 0. But you just felt pressure on your own. So now you come on TikTok. A lot of you have been wondering what I use for my skin. So I just thought I'd do a video to show you. Ala content na ide toruntu. See. Yeah. And people have energy for it. They've got time for it. I love content creators. They make me happy. Because me, I'm always thinking behind the curtains. Me, I'm always behind the scenes. Like I'm never just watching something where it is. No. For me, I'm always like this side, that side. Even when I'm watching a movie, I don't just watch movies for just. I'm all over the place with it. You will hear me with the questions I ask. I'm like, so number why didn't they? How did you even see that? It's because for me, I'm just. So they make me happy, the content creators. Hi guys, spend the day with me. And they wake up, the video, in the video they've woken up on their bed. Who set the camera? They make me happy. So sis, you woke up for real. Like you woke up for real. Then you got your phone, you went, set it up, and you went back to bed. Entered the blankets. And then you woke up again. You've got time. They make me happy. They walk. The camera is here. So they will pass it. Then they will stop it. Then they will move it to where else they are going. Then they will set it up there. Then they will come back. Yeah! It's work. It's a lot of work. I can't manage. The best I can do is selfie mode. I can walk with you like this. I'm not setting up my camera that side. But those are my personal issues. So anyways, you can imagine what Abraham is going through at this time. And I don't think this is a story that you want to be telling as a grown man. But he speaks to his wife. So God was talking to me. And he said, we have to pack up and leave. To go where? He hasn't told me. And if you know anything about women, they will ask you one or two questions. So now you have to convince her what you heard. So anyways, fast forward, they pack up. And then God begins, as if that's not enough, God now begins to talk to Abraham about a child. Now, the odds are not in his favor at this point in his life. The odds are not in his favor at this point in his life. He's well-aged, but the greatest challenge was that Sarah was barren. Sometimes you look at it and perhaps you only get to think of it as she struggled with childbearing. That wasn't the case. She was barren. There's a difference between struggling with conception and being barren. So for her, her situation was that she was barren. Now, had God come to talk to Abraham earlier about this child, when Sarah was maybe in her late 20s, the odds would have looked better. Are you seeing that? The odds would have looked a bit better. Because, I know, we got married when I was 20, I'm now 29. Yeah, people used to get married very early those days. So don't be there like, what we? So, something can still happen. I'm sure at 29, she would still have been believing maybe one day it will happen. But she's not 29. As a matter of fact, at the time this word is coming, menopause. If you don't know what that is, just the system that comes to pause childbearing systems. Just say, halt. We've had enough of that. And that's it. It means, as a woman, you're done. Isn't that so, Doc? As a woman, you're what? You're done. That's why people start panicking. They're entering their 30s. They have not yet married. They're like, ooh. Wait first. Yeah. Why? Because the age, Kylie. You want children. So now you have started entering your 30s and there's no man. So people start to panic because of that. But you see, Sarah was well over. It wasn't even a place for believing. What the Bible tells us about that when you read Hebrews 11 is that that situation was not just a situation against the odds, but it was a dead situation. Are you following me? It was a dead situation. When you read Hebrews 11 and it begins to talk about Abraham, you will see that detail. It was a dead situation. It wasn't something that could have produced anything at all. And you see, the funny thing about it is that it did not even happen immediately. When that word came, and it wasn't even making any sense. Biologically, it wasn't making sense. Biologically, it was not possible. So when that word came, the other issue with that word is that it didn't even happen immediately. You know how an angel went to Mary, another situation against the odds. Here is Mary. She's just chilling. She's a virgin. And this angel just comes and says, you're going to be with child. First of all, you need to understand how shameful it was in those days for an unmarried woman to suddenly turn up pregnant. It's these days where people are just like, hi guys. And they are on TikTok. Yeah. It's just these days. Otherwise, what do you mean you're pregnant? You're not married. You see that? Yeah. It's these days that people are walking around and they're celebrating this thing and they're like, oh, just check out my baby bump. Let me just show you some of my struggles. When I wake up in the morning, sometimes because of how big I am, I can't tie my shoes, so I have to. And everybody's like, oh, sis, oh, you're glowing. Oh, John. But this is an unmarried person, and everybody is celebrating them. These days that kind of stuff happens. But back in no. That's why these days they just say, it's who? Yeah, you and I, and they move on. Back then, you get pregnant, the first thing the family will do, fast, yeah, fast. Why? Because it was shameful. So now you can imagine this young girl. She's kept herself pure. She's not done anything with anyone. And this angel just suddenly comes and says, you're going to have a child. And immediately she accepts the word. It happens. On the other side, Elizabeth also. The word comes. The husband doubted a bit, went mute. But almost immediately the word came, it happened. But not for Sarah. That word came, and then it went quiet. God said they would have a child. Okay. She wasn't even because she laughed, remember? When she heard it, she was like, I think we haven't been trying. It was funny to her. Because bruh. Do you know, it wasn't just an issue of menopause, no. But even just physically, her body, it was beyond childbearing. Do you know there's particular strength you need to give birth? First of all, there's particular strength the body needs even to conceive. That's why when one or two things are not okay in a person's body, they struggle to conceive. Why? Because the body is not at a place it can manage. Are you seeing that? It's not at a place where it can manage to produce. The capacity is not there. The strength is not there. Sometimes you will find when people struggle, maybe they conceive, but then they miscarry. Because the body is not strong enough to carry. Sarah was beyond that point. Her body did not have the strength to conceive. We're not talking about labor. No, we're not there yet. Her body was not strong enough to conceive, just to conceive. Now you talk about having to now carry a child full term. She was not strong enough. Her body wasn't strong. She was old. Because pregnancy is its own thing also. You get to your 7 months, depending on what kind of pregnancy it is. You're just there like, come out. Ask the ones that have been pregnant before, they will tell you. You're pregnant in October. Oh. It's its own challenge. Are you seeing that? The random cravings. But your body is a mess. You're feeling this. There are people who just get sick. For them, pregnancy is sickness. So now you can imagine, her body is beyond that point. Labor. You need strength for that stuff. You need strength for that stuff. To be there and push. And you have to push out an entire human being out of your body. Your body goes through transformations until that child comes out. Sarah's body was not there. Sarah's body was not there. There are certain procedures they can't perform on old people. Because their bodies can't take it. Their bodies can't take. So even if a situation is they can't operate. They will say either this condition or us. One of the two will kill her. Because the body is not strong enough for the procedure. So Sarah's body was at that place. You can imagine. And that's one of the reasons the Bible calls it a dead situation. There are people who at the point they were giving. Do you know why? Do you know why as Africans, as Zambians, when someone comes from delivering, the greeting they give them, Mwapusken. Because that whole process could go either way. It could go either way. Somebody can just pass out. And people have been known to passing out during labor. That pain is so much. Just, Wait, boy. Let's finish this. Are you seeing that? I'm just trying to paint a picture to you. Because sometimes we read these stories and we quickly brush over them as if it wasn't a big deal. You see, this is the problem that the Israelites also had. They were quickly brushing over the things that God did in their presence. God would do an amazing thing. They will face the next challenge and they will be shaken again. So when you're reading, when you're studying this, as you are going to be doing, you need to sit down and think, what was it like? What were the biological implications of this thing? Are you following me? Yeah. So it was even a risk to think Sarah should get pregnant. It was a risk on her life. It was also a risk on the child's life. Because if the pregnancy is overwhelming and she dies before she delivers, chances are the child dies with her. And at that time, they didn't even have proper technology to deal with a prematurely born child. So it was a risk. It was a huge risk to even believe God in this thing. Against the odds. So when you look at that situation, it wasn't one of those things that were just screaming something amazing is going to come out of this. And then, like I already mentioned, what made it worse was that the word seemed to have delayed in manifestation. And so you see how eventually Sarah tends to take things into her own hands. She took matters into her own hands and said, my husband. You know this word that God gave us, eh? It looks like it's delaying. But God already said. So it means that you must have a child. And I've just been feeling for you. So why don't you do this? Take my maid. You have a child with her. At least you can have a child. At least we can have a child in the house that is yours. The child may not be from me, but at least we will know that the child is. And Abraham loved Sarah. We're back to emotions. He loved her so much, he forgot what God told him. So he listened to her. But against all odds, that same Sarah, God was like, Me, I said you and Sarah. I didn't say you and Hagar, no. You and this same, your wife, this one. That's who you will have a child with. Against the odds, we see Isaac coming. Are you seeing that? Think of people like Joseph. What was it like to be sold as a slave after receiving the most powerful word over your life? You know how they tell you you're going far? And then now, you just find yourself very near. And you're wondering, did the word lie? Because what I am seeing, what I'm experiencing is not what I was told. You can imagine the visions that Joseph saw. And right after seeing grand things about himself, that same thing, first of all, gets him hated even more by his brothers. His own people. His own brothers were irritated. They were like, who do you think you are, Joseph? It's not like he just sat down one day and he said, I want some freedom to come in. That's not what happened. He was sleeping. And he saw something. Did he call it? No. So it wasn't exactly on him that he would have a vision like that. But after he has it and he shares it, they hate him so much. They almost kill him first. Then because God still wanted to deliver what he promised him, they ended up just selling him as a slave. Now, can you imagine, first of all, what it was like to be a slave at that time? Number two, can you imagine what it was like to be a slave, especially as a person who just saw themselves on the highest place? After God told you already that you're going far, then now you're just somewhere near. And you're wondering, what is going on here? You see, some pathways don't make sense. Some pathways don't make sense. But if you're still walking and you're walking with God, then in the absence of sense, allow it to make faith. It will make sense later on. It will make sense later on. This whole process does not make sense. Because you just told me everyone is going to be bowing down to me. Yet, I am now the one bowing down to everyone. Because as a slave, you are at the bottom. And so even the guards there, yes sir, yes sir. The regular citizen, because you are a slave. They will make you do this, they will make you do that. You're just from fetching water, you're tired, they will send you back to go and collect some other thing. You just finished doing that, they will sweep here, wash that, rinse that. Can you do this? Can you do that? Lift that, chop that. You're a slave. But you're also a slave carrying a very powerful weight. Remember what Joseph eventually told his brothers when he met them. He said to them, what you meant for evil, God has turned it around for good. What you meant for evil, against the odds, God turned it around for my good. It wasn't a small situation. And when you read through, you realize that, Joseph wasn't a slave for 2 days. It was a long season of having to live a life you didn't see, opposite from what you saw. But let me tell you something. You have not believed a lie. What matters is that you've not believed a lie. The thing that God said to you, He still has every intention to deliver. You may not be seeing it right now, and things around you may not be agreeing with it. But what God said, He meant. He meant it when He said it. So now you walk like Joseph. Despite being a slave, having been sold by his own flesh and blood, his own brothers, carried himself with dignity still. Can you imagine what it would take to do that? Because if Joseph had chosen to be bitter, there were things that would never have happened. There are things that would never have happened. But in the midst of what seemed like his greatest life disappointment, he continued to carry himself with dignity. He did not react to the situation. He responded to the situation. He didn't say, what have I ever done in my life? This is unfair. It's not fair. I have followed my father's instructions. I have listened to the commandments. I've done everything. I've been a good boy. I've loved God. What have I ever done to deserve all of this? That's not the attitude. And a lot of the times, that's what people need to look out for. Your attitude in tough seasons. You need to watch it. Your attitude in tough seasons, you need to watch it. It can be what would determine whether you get to your expected end or not. A lot of people have abandoned destiny because of their attitudes. Me, I don't like what this thing that's going on. Because me. Your attitude will end up disqualifying you from what was already guaranteed. Because can you imagine, you're going through a tough time, then you decide to pick beef with God. You start calling him woman of unfair and what? Moses and the Israelites. Just from Moses himself, you realize this man should have died. But reason with me a bit here. Here is a place where they've decreed to say, when a child is born, you check their sex, and it's male, kill. Somehow, this boy survives. Okay, cool. Because the mother couldn't actually keep him, what does she do? She goes and puts him in a basket and floats him on the river. Okay, dangerous. Social services will be on her neck in these days. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. I remember there was this Kadai. That I wasn't that guy for swimming to die growing up. My friends were. I just wasn't that guy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me. But, also, I'm not a fish. We won't say I can't swim. We'll just say I'm not a fish. It just didn't make sense to me. I just think, it's dirty water. Because after you're done swimming, you're white. Not even that white from just because I was swimming after hour. It's just from. So I just used to think, it's a waste of time. Also, I just had too many issues with it. So one day, out of peer pressure, I decided to follow my friends Kadai, where they always used to go anyway. That day when we got there, we found a Chimamonita lizard. Chingwena. The way we scampered. But in my head, I was just like, see, this is why I don't come here. This is why. So all I'm saying is, these were waters that they would play in every now and then. And then suddenly there was something there. So you could think, no, they were safe waters. There's no such thing. So it was still a risk. But anyways, she was hoping the child would be seen by protecting his daughter, so that, which is also dangerous, because again, you don't know what she's going to do with the child. She could just drown the child right there for fun and move on. But against the odds, see, there was an instruction she was working with that moved her to doing what she did. It looked reckless, but there was preservation in the instruction she was receiving. You see, there are certain things when you're walking with God that He's going to tell you to do. They are going to look risky. But your preservation is in the obedience of the word you've been given. What will preserve you is your obedience to the word. It looks like it can, and you see, when you're walking with God, one of the ways you will know you're working out like a God project, it will seem beyond you. A God project that's just within your capability of, But a lot of the times, it will seem like, how am I going to do this? See, the reason God does things like that is so that He can help us grow our faith towards Him. Because those kind of situations are supposed to teach us to trust God more completely. Why? Because when you look at yourself, you realize, Palwandi, dating kwanishi. So God, I need you. See, there are situations that God allows that bring us to a place where we seek Him out. And you see, sometimes some of these situations are only as a result of our lack of discipline in the first place. So God helps you by allowing a certain situation so that when it pains, you can now find Him. Are you seeing that? Yeah. So you can imagine. He goes through all of this. But because he maintained his head, he did not shift from the left or to the right. He focused. He stayed true to who he was. And eventually he saw himself getting to where God told him he was going. It was against the odds. No one had ever heard that kind of story, that a slave became number 2 in the land. A slave became number 2 in the land. It had never been heard before. Think of Gideon. You know, sometimes when God is calling people, you want to ask God, God, are you sure? You know what I mean? Like, are you sure? Yes, that same one. But God, you know, when I look at this person, they even know what to say. Yeah, I know. There are people we gave certain opportunities. And when we gave them those opportunities, it's not because we were the ones we saw. No. In our own right, we were thinking, God, why would you even go this way? Then God was like, yeah, the same way I called you. I said, no, we didn't have to go there. When you think of Gideon, you will find that not only were his people disadvantaged, he was the most disadvantaged in his clan. He was the most disadvantaged. Beyond that, even his own character was predominantly timid. He wasn't the bravest guy you could find around. No, that wasn't Gideon. Gideon was timid. And then out of all the people in the land, God went to talk to that same one. And he said, mighty man. Mighty what? Have you seen any might here? Have you ever had somebody say something to you and you immediately went, because they're definitely not talking to you. It's like that thing you said, you're definitely not talking to me. So, here's a young man. Out of everyone, God goes to him, calls the mighty man and said, through you I'm going to deliver my people. How? And Gideon was going through things. And so he took God through some tests. Because he just wanted to be sure. Gideon did some very brave things. Judges 6. Let me show you something. Gid. So, after God calls him, right? And he tells him all these things, no, I'm going to deliver what? Shan. So Gideon, because now, it wasn't like, no, you're going to go and pray on the mountain. No, you needed to go and fight some people. So naturally, what do? You gather people. Therefore, you have to gather people that outmatch the people you're fighting. Those are the rules of engagement in war, in battle. You don't just start a fight. You have to check. One time, I remember, I was in high school. In Ndola there. I was at Kansenshi. In Kansenshi, had this beef with Chifu. Where that beef started from, I also don't know. All I knew is that we didn't like each other. And so, one day, something happened. And the Chifu guy said, Bakansenshi Masama-san, this closing day, we are going to come and beat you up. So that's how they organize themselves to come. And as the teachers were addressing us inside the school, as they were concluding, we heard that the Chifu guys had come. They are outside our school. We were like, bet. And so once they were done, we sent out the ladies and the Kembos. Yeah. They are the ones we told to come out of the gate first. So once we were done, the girls were coming out like this, like this. The Chifu guys were gathered across the road. It was a whole movie scene. Then they were gathered across the road. And so they just saw this crowd of yellow gym dresses coming out. So they came out inside, and the Kembos, they followed. And then there was our group, the ones that were ready to fight. Yeah, we came out. Just, and we were walking like that. So they saw that, oh, those are the ones that are fighting. They were also there, just waiting for us. We walked out of the gate. They started following us. We crashed in the middle of the road. And it was quite the busy road. Boom! There were bunches flying around. The only reason I was in that fight was because a couple of weeks before that day, a certain young man from Chifu came into my school. He had think 3 other guys with him. These tomato guys like this. And he was walking in my corridor. As he was walking in my corridor, he was bragging about how untouchable he was. He was talking about how even the teachers at his school can't do anything with him because he's bad. I said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? I was so upset. But then I couldn't attack him because I was surrounded by Campbells. See, you need to learn to pick your fights. So if I had attacked him, he had 3 minions with him. I wasn't going to win that fight. You get what I mean? I never start any fight I can't win. If I can't win the fight, I'll find a way to quickly resolve things so we can move on. So when I heard that the Chifu guys were coming, I wasn't interested in the Chifu guys. Just wanted that. That one came. It's the one I was looking for in the crowd. I remember finally finding him. I stood in front of him. He wasn't even fighting. I stood in front of him just waiting for him to do something. And he was just standing around like he hasn't seen me. I said, I was so disappointed. You get what I mean? I was so disappointed. And I was in full uniform. It's not like I was hiding. I was so disappointed. I said, this is the... so drained. That's how I walked out of that fight. I was like, shh. So, anyways, we overwhelmed them. They ran away. They jumped on a bus and drove off. So, I had to go back inside the school because the teachers were now asking what was happening. So I had to explain to them, no, they just followed us. We had to defend our honor. This is our turf. All that kind of stuff, right? As I was resolving all of that, everyone had gone off. The people had gone home, Shani. All my fighting men had left, in short. Then they came back. But these ones that came back, why did you even jump by? I said, how are these grown men pupils? They were huge. People had muscles. And they were standing outside. Fumeni! Fumeni! I said, Fumeni Kwisa. You must be crazy. Those guys look like they can fold me in 6 pieces. I'm not going anywhere. Also, I didn't have any fighting men. Can you imagine? I just remained with Bezu, Ron. Those are the people I had. Those guys are not going to fight. Even if I was going to pump myself and take on one, who is going to cover the others? So they came, Fumeni, I said, oh no, sorry sir. The people that were causing a problem, they already left. That's how we calm that situation down. See? Otherwise, before I was like, when I saw what we were facing, I said, sir, what explanation am I going to give at home for why my eye can't open? So, you learn to pick your fights. You check if you've got enough backup. But you see, this is not what God does with Gideon. With Gideon, after he gathers thousands of men, he says, you have too many. Too many. Nobody has ever talked like that in battle. No one has ever said, we have too many men. The more, the better, if you're going for a fight. Because you want to overwhelm your opponent as quickly as possible. Also, you want to fight losing the fewest men You can. So when you have a lot of them, it means you will not lose so many after the battle. But God tells Gideon, you have too many men. And he begins to shrink his army until he brings it to a ridiculous number. And the odds were now wildly against them. No one could have predicted they would triumph. But against the odds, Gideon and his 300, they went on and did amazing things. Are you seeing that? We could go on and on. What I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to give you God's CV. Think of David. Think of Joshua. Can you imagine just going up against a giant that everybody else is afraid of? There were professional soldiers there. People who've been fighting all their life. They couldn't even come up to go and say, Goliath, you were Sakuno. They were all quaking in their boots like this. You can imagine. Goliath used to come out every day and he would insult them. And all of them were just there like in the barn. Until one boy, just one boy, came out and he said, who is this uncircumcised person? Who does he think he is? That he can defy the armies of God. Because he concluded in himself to say, there's no way that God is going to stand by and watch some uncircumcised Philistine defy his armies and not do anything about it. But you see, God wasn't going to just come and open the ground where Goliath was standing and then close it. No. God wanted to deal with, do you know, even when you look at Samson, God wanted to deal with some people. So now God wasn't just going to come open the ground or send fire or anything like that. No. He does that with people who are supposed to follow him. And then they start misbehaving. Not just people who are just oppressing his people. No. Those ones he wants to show them through his people. So he raises Samson, gives him all this strength. Samson decides to become a lover boy. He just wants a good time, he wants girls. So, oh, okay. Oh. And God knew his type. So he opened his eyes to become a girl from that same camp that God wants to deal with. Are you seeing that? So, when David sees this giant, he says, there's no way my God stands by whilst this giant defies his armies. We must do something about it. That fight, David had no business winning. He had no business winning that fight. The rest of the soldiers thought like me when the Chifumunjombas came. They said, hey, have you seen the size of that man? Because I remember I had encountered these chaps again. We went to play basketball at Nasdaq with Zamshurab. And then I was just chilling, watching basketball. And because I was Mr. Muscle of my group, when they started the fight this side, they came to call me. Ah, boy, boys. Oh, that's how I got up. Kaila is the muscle of the group. So I got up, I said, where? As I saw the scene, number one, the person who was in the center of the fight, I knew that guy. I heard stories about him. He was from my school. He was apparently the kind of guy who, when they would go out drinking, he would beat up someone for spilling their own beer. So basically, just looking for fights anywhere he goes. Now, I never wanted to fight a senseless fight. Like, if we're going to get into a fight, let it have some meaning. You get what I mean? I said, so first things first, maybe I'm thinking I'll just go there and just break up the fight because like I don't even understand where this fight is coming from. Also knowing this guy, it can just be about anything useless. Then I saw their backup, the people that we want to fight. I saw their backup. It was those same Njombas. I just told my friend, I came here to watch basketball. I'm going back. I don't care what you will think of me, whatever. Even if you call me a Kembo, I'll be the Kembo who can still open my eyes without pain. I went back to watch my basketball. When we went back to school, what about Mama Sauce 12? But I said, yeah, I know. But at least I know without pain. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be the same people laughing at me. It's walking around here with broken bones or whatever. And it's not to take to school. They broke your arm. But you see, we're not talking about senseless fights here. We're talking about when men stand with God against the odds. In truth, the odds are not against you. In this season, when you read the Bible, a lot of the times when God would appear, he would say, I am the God of your forefathers. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why was he insisting on saying those things? He was giving out his CV to people to help them believe, to help their confidence, to help them reason to say, if it's the same God that gave Abraham a child out of a dead situation, if it's the same God that delivered the Israelites through Moses, took them to the promised land, if it's the same God that walked with Joshua, if it's the same God that, then he's able to deal with my situation. When you are applying for something, they want to see your CV. The reason they want to see your CV is because they want to check out your capabilities. They also want references for where you've worked so that they can ask questions. What kind of person are we dealing with here? They want tangibles. What things have you achieved? Where you were working that side, what did you manage to achieve there? So that they can build some confidence in you, knowing that you are able to deliver the work they're expecting from you. God has a CV. It's called the Bible. It's called the Bible. You see, the pressure we have now is the Bible remains a storybook to many people. It's not factual. It's make-believe. That someone challenged 450 prophets to a showdown. Can you imagine? I want you to imagine these things with me. 400. I told you before, I said, when you think of even Moses, as Moses went before Pharaoh and challenged him with these things, you saw how he had magicians that could do the things that Moses was doing. And that's what made him so confident. Because Moses comes and he thinks he's going to scare everyone with his kama snake. So he throws his kama stick down, it turns into a snake. Pharaoh asks, they threw their sticks down also and they turned into snakes. So when you think of Elijah, as he challenged the prophets about, it's not like they had not done one or two things with this their God. It's not like they had not done one or two. They had already done one or two things with their God. So that's why they were even so confident. Look, a fraud will just run away from a challenge. If a person has not really encountered the things they claim to encounter, they will run away. The moment you challenge them, they'll say, or they will say, no, I'm busy. Or they will say, no, my God doesn't respond to such things. We don't do that here. And then they walk away or something like that. But they were so confident because they had done some things in the name of their God before. And when you look at that situation, the numbers were against Elijah. Wildly, he stood there by himself. And 450 prophets. They prepared their things. They made their chants. They danced. They sang. They cut themselves. As if it wasn't bad enough that this man was outnumbered, he went and created an even worse situation because he builds his altar and then drenches it in water. But against the odds, God shows up. Listen, as we are in this season of prayer, there are some things that, obviously, some of them, the prayer points, that is, you're going to be guided. You're going to be guided. We're going to be praying about the ministry. We're going to be praying about the leaders. We're going to be praying about so many different things, personal things, and so on and so forth. But you're going to be guided. However, in this same period of time is where you begin to also deal with those specifics. You know the things you're going through. You know the things that you need. I don't know what you believed so far. But the CV is long. It would take us the whole month to finish God's CV. I've just picked a few things here there. But if we were to get down into the number of things that God... See, this is the issue I tend to have with the Israelites. I was telling Henry the other day, I was telling him that, do you understand what the pillar of fire that was guiding them in the night looked like? Huh? Do you understand the spectacle of the pillar of fire? It wasn't a spark. It wasn't a candle wick. It was a whole pillar of fire that was burning without substance. Most fires burn because something is burning. You've put a stick and you've put fire there. The stick is what's burning, and that's why there's fire. But God doesn't need that. He doesn't need that. That's why that bush was burning and not being consumed. And so there's this whole pillar of fire in the night, providing for them light and warmth. And a cloud by day that is providing for them shade, keeping them cool, but also guiding them on where they are supposed to go. But every chance they got to doubt God, they did. Can you imagine people just whispering in the camps at night? They are sitting outside the camp in a group like this. They are gossiping. Can you imagine this Moses and his God? He just wants, can he even provide anything for us? Because now look, the way we've been suffering. Meanwhile, there's a pillar of fire there. Imagine how ridiculous that is. We don't even have water. Eh? There's a pillar of fire there, anyway. You've never seen that in your life. Talk of everything God had already done in Egypt. How he dismantled the gods of Egypt. Yet, every chance they got to doubt God, they did. Every chance they got to doubt God, they did. They ended up experiencing God in a way he never wanted them to experience it. One time they were all making noise, just being unruly. They got on an elevator for going down. Another time, yeah, we don't even eat meat. God was like, okay. So a wind came, and there were quails everywhere. They gathered, and the quails covered the land like this. A day's journey this side and a day's journey that side. And instead of, in that moment, just being humbled, the Bible says, whilst the meat was still between their teeth, a plague. Kaboom. But the next opportunity they got to doubt God, they did. I've had encounters, situations, where, I think I told you this before, where I was facing something. One time I remember I was facing something, and I was just there like, oh no, my life is over. What am I going to do? And I remember God challenging me. He said, you've been here before. Not in this actual situation, but you've been at this point before where you thought this situation won't pass. It will finish me. And I still saw you through that situation. And many others. Why am I going to fail this one? And so as a believer, you tell yourself this. If he did it before, he will do it again. That's why we share testimonies. So that someone can look and say, if he did it for him, he can do it for me. Child of God, I want you to build your faith on these things. I want you to build your faith on these things. You may not have, look, there's nothing new here. Whatever it is you think you're going through, however serious, however bad you think the situation is, there's nothing new. You're not the first one, even. And if God came through for people before you, and by the way, he's coming through for people around you, he won't skip you. He won't skip you. But what you need to learn to do in this season is to watch and pray. You need to watch and pray. You need to watch and pray. There's a God that is moving and that is shifting things. And he's ready to shift your situation. He's ready to shift your situation. But you need to stay on the mountain. Remember how many were in that meeting? We had the senior pastor the other night. Okay. For liking to sleep. Let me just tell you also, as a directive for this season, I'm done with this teaching. This season, love your sleep less. Because we're going to be having meetings online. And you can't be sleeping. I'm telling you, you can't be sleeping. You need to learn to stay awake. Are you hearing me? Huh? Don't say, this is a meeting at 23 hours. With me, I'm tired. See? You are too tired to change your situation. Then you are too tired to change your situation. I need you to stay awake. I'm Papa. Stay awake this season. Pray. When these meetings are called, be present. Don't be the kind of person who's always looking for an excuse. No, the network. Pray for your network. Say, in the name of Jesus, every issue with my network that tends to come up during prayer time, I bind, I cancel, I dismantle. Every agenda of the enemy that comes to bring this, I cancel. It will not happen, not with me. I'll successfully attend every prayer meeting and I'll not miss a single thing. My network will not be skipping, I'll not be getting kicked out of the meeting. You pray specifically over those things. But you see, sometimes the problem is you're lazy. So you're excited when the network is giving you issues. Yeah. You are happy. You say, sorry, it's kicked me out. You must contend. Trust me, you need this. You need this. Some of us, if we can tell you, our prayer lives were never the same after we consistently went through this kind of season. Because we never thought we could pray like that until we did. And now, here we are. So, I want you to contend this season. I want you to contend. It's for your own benefit. It's for your own benefit. Don't say, this same meeting, why didn't they call it this whole time? Now that it's even 21 something, it's almost 22, I'm preparing for bed. That's when they're saying at meeting at 22 hours. So, you must be the kind of person who you've talked about it with your my friends, and you've said, just in case there's a meeting and you haven't seen me, please call me Sam, so that I don't miss. Are we together? Otherwise, don't take it too late that you miss the prayer meeting. You don't know what manner of things you missed there. You don't know. Whatever you're going through, let us pray together. In this season, let's shift things. Let's make God proud. Let's prove God right in this season. Let's be available to pray. Because God needs people to be praying, and praying always. So let's show up for God and for ourselves. Hallelujah. Let's be upstanding. You see, God is moving to do exactly what He said He would do. That's what God is doing. He is moving to do exactly what He said He would do. I want you to hold on to those things. I want you to hold on to those things. Sometimes you look at people like me and you wonder, why are you always seemingly unshaken? I know what God said. That's my confidence. That's my secret weapon. If you ever wondered, I know what He said. So even if things look like this or they look like that, even when things look like they are just even when things look like they are just getting worse, I know what God said. I know what God said. And what I know for sure, without a single doubt, is that God is capable. He's capable. You see, there are some of you, you need to teach yourself to not worry. You need to teach yourself to not worry. The same God that led them out of Egypt is the same God that made them cross the Red Sea is the same God that walked with them in the wilderness. It's the same God they brought down walls with. It's the same God that gave them their inheritance. And so at every point of a challenge, you're dealing with the same God. And this is why the question always is, what did he say? Not what it looks like. What did God say? You're not the first person to have received a word like this and your life went like that. You're not the first person. People have seen visions. People have received words, even from random strangers. People have been through seasons where they go to church. The man of God says, I see ABCD, ABCD. And then the other sister who wasn't even in church at the time comes, tells them the same thing. They think it's a joke. They were walking around in town somewhere on the street. A random person stops them and says, I don't know who you are and what you're going through, but I just felt an impression on my heart to tell you that ABC. And everything is aligned inside. They went to sleep, they had a dream. In their dream, the same things that they were told. But when they woke up, their life started working this other side. Don't forget what God said. Understand? Don't forget what God said. By one way or another, he will deliver. By one way or another, he will deliver. I don't care how many doors close. By one way or the other, he will deliver. Because you see, sometimes God allows for certain doors to close. He will watch it close like this. But remember what I've always taught you. If this door won't open, God will open this one. Meanwhile, there's no door here where I'm pointing. But because God is God, a door will open here. And you wonder, I didn't know there was a door there. Yeah. Because you thought when you were thinking about man, you are just thinking of that one stream. God told you, this year, you're going to make this amount of money. And then, you find the business you're doing doesn't even look like it's going to make that kind of money. And you become discouraged. No, either by that business or another business, you're going to make that money. Are you hearing me? Either by that business or another one, you're going to make the money. Because the word of the Lord has to be true. If what God told you is that you're going there, you're going to graduate, that's the word for you. What things look like right now does not matter. By one way or the other, you're getting there. You're getting there. I was thinking about CPU students. Some have received very unpleasant news concerning their results. And I was just thinking to myself, I was sharing this with them and I told them, imagine you are the pastor. You've prayed for the people, you've declared, you've laid hands, you gave words, you counseled them. Results come out and they haven't cleared. And you see, for some, there are things God already showed me. We've seen gowns. Can Can you imagine that? We've seen gowns. I've already seen some people in their gown. Then they come to me and they said, Pastor, I'm on part-time. See, that doesn't shake me. You want to know why? I already saw you in your gown. So for me, your part-time situation is a part-time season. Temporal. Temporal. Others know, Pastor, me with the sub, carry the course or two. Yeah, just carry it. Just carry it. You will make it. You will still make it. It's not over. It's not over. There have been worse situations like this. Come on. Come on. Sometimes you need to push yourself and say, come on. There have been worse situations. This is not the one that breaks you. No. This isn't the one that breaks you. See, I was thinking about you the other day. I was actually laughing at you, Precious. I was actually laughing at you. Look, aren't you going to give you a personal word in public? I want you to remain very focused to how God has been writing your story. And perhaps not writing it, but I'll call it revealing it. Because it's already written. Your job is to not worry. That's your role in this story. Yeah. Yours is not to worry. That's it. How things are going to work out, shiny, what? It's none of your business. So your business in prayer to agree with God, that's all. The rest of it. So you texted me and I was laughing. Yeah. And sometimes that's what happens. You would text me with what is shaking you like this. Sometimes I'm laughing on the other side. Because when I'm looking at what's shaking you, I'm like, you've already seen this thing falling. Yours, don't worry. Don't be like the Israelites. They experience one miracle, they find another challenge here, they forget what they saw. Look, even how you are here is the stuff of miracle. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Don't allow for God to bring you miraculously to a place and then you end up being kicked off by your doubt and worry. You're going to be okay. Look, don't just be thinking about how hungry you are this November. Pray. All together. I'm going to allow you to pray for a few minutes. And one man said, I believe